Hi, my name's Erica Myers-Davis and I'm from Param Mission.
I'm Kath Botel, I'm the Labor candidate for Melbourne. I'm also President of the Labor Party here in Victoria, and it's great to be here at the rewriting of the history of Indigenous involvement in war. It's an important history to be told, and I'm looking forward to reading the book.
Okay, hi everyone, thank you so much for coming today. For those who don't know, my name's Layla Gurruwiwing and I work on the Margaret Footy Show here in Melbourne. But here today I am your MC for the Day to help launch Under One Flag, which is an amazing new book whose author is Erica Myers-Davis, and thank you so much for creating this book for us. This book means a lot to me because I think it's very important that not only Indigenous but ethnic people get acknowledged for the things that they did during World War II. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this country and also acknowledge all elders past and present and any other Indigenous people that are here today. Next up we would like to have Sister Zai read some poetry for us, and just a little bit about Sister Zai. She is a poet and she's also a radio host and the co-organiser of the Stillwaters Women Storytelling Collective. Sister Zai is a storyteller who uses spoken words to explore the politics through her personal and lived everyday experiences. Zai's social justice work takes place within the Stillwaters Women's Storytelling Collective, which she founded in 2011 with the intention of making diverse and underrepresented voices and issues heard in the mainstream. So would you all help in helping me introduce Sister Zai? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Layla. Thank you, Erica, as well, for inviting me here today. I'd also like to acknowledge Indigenous owners of this land, past, present, and future. As Layla said, I am a storyteller. It won't be poetry today, it's going to be more stories about my lived and personal experience. 6 years ago, when my mom and I ended up in South Australia together, and we were at a conference, and my mom had said to me, come along, this is really important to me that you come along for this conference. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I took my law books with me and I studied during the day while she went to her classes, and then at night we go to like all the dinners and we network together. And there was this man who was there, he was a motivational speaker, and he said he took people out onto the Kokoda Trail to show them the history of what had happened. And he talked about the fuzzy wuzzies. And I felt, I just arrived in Australia a few years previous and I was like, fuzzy wuzzy? Was this man talking about my hair? I got really offended and I stopped listening to what he was saying because I was just really offended. And I felt like I was on show. I felt like I was exposed, under the spotlight, because here I was in a conference room filled with maybe 200, 300 people, and my mom and I were the only black people in there, and this man was talking about fuzzy wuzzies. And I felt deep shame about myself as a black person at the time, about myself and the way that I looked, and my hair wasn't straight and blonde, and what I saw in the mainstream as the representation of beautifulness and beauty. And it's only later when I started doing some research on the internet that I realized that the fuzzy wuzzies were actually considered to be angels. That there were men who'd carried a lot of injured soldiers out of the rainforest and trekked up the mountains. And it was this halo of light that shone through their big afros that made them be seen and known as these fuzzy wuzzy angels. So I really am very proud of Erica, if I can say that, because she's someone that I look up to a lot, for writing Under One Flag, because it's a book that you can open up and start to read these histories and to educate yourself. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. And let's keep this project going. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Sister Zai, hearing all your stories. So now we have Erica Myers-Davis, who is the lovely author of Under One Flag. So would you please help me in introducing Erica?
Thanks everyone for coming today, I really appreciate it. I was at a function at the Lord Mayor of London's annual lecture, and at that lecture I met a guy who worked for the Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League. So when I got to know the organisation a little bit better, because also just to bribe me into the process and to make sure I was committed and cemented, they actually made me the official representative of Jamaican veterans, because my heritage is Jamaican. And they did that by taking me to Buckingham Palace and introducing me to Prince Philip, so who can really say no to that? So after being seconded into the organisation, I then met quite a few veterans and started to think, you know, well, here are some interesting people. The only black history I'd learnt about was the history of the slave trade. Now, that's actually quite a dark sort of moment in European history as well as in African history and Caribbean history. It's not a black history or a white history, it's our history. And it's really important that we get our young people to understand where they're coming from and to understand what they're a part of. Today we're here to commemorate, it is Remembrance Day, and I just want to read just two poems. The first one is from a Jamaican poet called, if I can get to the page, called Claude McKay. And he originally wrote this poem as in 1919, at a time in America when blacks were being attacked and lynched by white people. And so it became a popular poem of resistance. And it's called If We Must Die. If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honour us, though dead. O kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show brave, and for their 1,000 blows, deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men, we'll face the murderous, cowardly pack. Pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. Now this poem is important not just for the reasons it was written, but that Winston Churchill used that poem during his address to the American Congress in his efforts to encourage the Americans to enter the war against the Germans. He also used it as a rally for the British people against the war. And of course, today is Remembrance Sunday, and it's traditional to say the Ode to Remembrance. They went with songs to the battle, they were young, straight of limb, true of eyes, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Well, thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
Absolutely lovely. And it is Remembrance Day today. And I hope as many here that we see you all in schools very, very soon, because it definitely should be a part of the curriculum. And at 11 we will have a moment's silence as respect to all the heroes and all the soldiers that fought for our country.